At the heart of all BLT Companies products is raw earth, a mixture of sand and rocks. Currently, BLT owns and develops over 140 acres of raw material just east of Yuma on Highway 95. All BLT products begin with raw earth. A 20-ton front loader is used to gather up the earth. The front loaders will begin working the land down until they've reached groundwater level. The earth is then dumped into a crusher. This crusher is able to take up to 36-inch rocks and crush them to a -4, which is a diameter of 4 inches or less. The machine shakes and lurches as it pulverizes the material down and drops it onto a 1,000-foot conveyor belt that will transport the material to the north side pit. Working with Union Pacific Railway, BLT developed a tunnel system allowing raw materials to be carried under the existing train tracks over to the north pit. The raw material is dropped to a dual-port conveyor that moves the material to its first step towards becoming a finished pay product, the triple-deck screen. This screen begins separating the crushed material into its proper class. This begins the separation towards material becoming cement aggregate, aggregate base course or ABC, and asphalt aggregate. Any materials that are too large to drop through the largest screen are moved on to a second crusher. After receiving a second crushing, the material is immediately sent back to the screen to be processed. From the screen, materials are then sent to the asphalt plant or the wet plant for cleaning. All conveyors and plant equipment is run by one operator from an operating office. The operator is able to watch all process, adjusting conveyor speed to allocate for different material settings. The material designated for aggregate in cement is sent to what is called the wet plant. The wet plant washes aggregate, removing any dirt, clay, or plant debris that may be clinging to the aggregate, and separates the material further into designated sizes. As the material enters the wet plant, they are sent through a spray washer and a second screen process. Materials are dropped into a log washer. The log washer rubs rock against rock, beginning the removal process of any extra dirt. The paddles on the log continuously move rock against rock and push the rock up the log washer, separating it from the clay water. The rock continues on to a second log washer that further removes clay, sand, and debris. A third screen separates the material to its final size. The rock is then sent by conveyor to a final pile. From this pile, front loaders will collect the materials to begin using it in the cement process. One of the strengths of BLT Companies is the dedication to being efficient and environmentally friendly at every opportunity that arises. The BLT wet plant moves 6,000 gallons of water per minute. At every opportunity, water is reclaimed and reused to keep water waste to a minimum. At the first stage of the wet plant, rock goes through the first log washer. As rock makes its way up the log washer and on to the next phase, the water stays behind. The water from the log washer, now full of clay and sand, is pumped to a double sand screen that continues to separate the clay and the sand particles. The sand is then sent into a pile. Now the clay-filled water is pumped to the first of 2 water reclaiming tanks. The water first enters tank 1. A chemical agent is added to the water to bind the clay particles together, causing them to sink to the bottom of the tank. Now the clay-free water is pumped into a second holding tank to wait for a repeat use through the whole wet plant process. Never one to waste, BLT is able to process the sunken remaining clay, providing topsoil for farmers or fill for builders. The clay that is now settled to the bottom of the tanks is then pumped to the press plant. One operator watches over 3 presses that take the wet clay and run them over a fine mesh material and down through a press, squeezing any excess water from the dirt. Again, this water is reclaimed and sent back to the holding tank. The now nearly dry mud is piled and left to dry. BLT's Highway 95 quarry houses its own asphalt manufacturing plant. Asphalt aggregate quarried right here at this facility is conveyed to the burner, where it is mixed with tar at extremely high temperatures to become what is commonly known as asphalt. The fresh asphalt is then transferred to the silo, where it waits to be distributed. As the asphalt trucks arrive, overhead motion detectors activate a system that sprays a non-bonding agent into the bed of the truck, keeping the fresh asphalt from sticking. The asphalt is then transferred from the silo to the truck and is ready for delivery. The entire system is run from a state-of-the-art command center, giving the operator complete control over both the manufacturing and delivery of the asphalt. BLT operates 4 concrete batch plants in Yuma County. All raw materials from the plants come from the Highway 95 pit. Now the clean materials are ready to be used in the cement process. Keeping efficient allows BLT to maintain a high-quality product. All batch plants utilize a mix-as-need approach. Conveyors carry batch materials to a hopper. Each hopper dispenses required materials to fill that order. Electronic sensors within the hopper trigger the material belt to bring more material once the hopper has reached a low level. With this system, BLT is able to mix as little as 1 batch for 1 truck or continuously make batches to provide concrete to a continuous stream of trucks. Keeping materials on time is important, as each truck knows its place in line and what needs to be done to keep things moving flawlessly. Once to the site, BLT offers several options for dropping the load. BLT operates concrete pumps, giving builders much flexibility when it comes to their pours. Always keeping an eye on efficiency, BLT trucks are on time to keep the pumps loaded and flowing. BLT employs a BIBCO reclaiming system at their Gila Ridge location. When a pour is done, any leftover concrete within the mixer is brought back to the Gila Ridge plant. The mixer dumps any remaining into the BIBCO to begin the process of reclaiming aggregate from the mixed concrete. The aggregate is washed down, separating the rock from the sand. A gray slurry of water is dumped into a holding tank, where the system begins to separate the water from the cement mix. That water is then pumped to a batch plant to be used on the next batch of concrete mix. Always looking for opportunities to provide their customers the best product, BLT has begun research into lighter cement materials for upper-level buildings, starting with lightweight, porous rock. The rocks are soaked until they become saturated with water. This process allows the use of lighter aggregate, and the thorough soaking keeps the rocks from absorbing the moisture out of the cement, which can result in poor concrete once hardened. BLT keeps a fully loaded repair shop. Service trucks are ready at a moment's notice to replace tires, motors, axles, pumps, and other necessities. Along with a fleet of mixers, BLT offers heavy hauler and crane service. The loading and unloading of heavy material, industrial machinery, and more. BLT is here to serve. BLT also operates a recycling crusher. This specific unit takes construction debris and crushes it into aggregate for use in future projects. BLT Companies, serving the entire desert Southwest, specializing in ready-mix concrete, asphalt, crane service, heavy hauler transport, concrete pumping, along with sand and gravel. Dedicated to providing the highest quality materials and service to every customer. The BLT facilities is certified by the National Ready Mix Concrete Association with a production capacity of 600 cubic yards per hour and 24-hour service. With nearly 100 employees and 4 concrete batch plant locations, BLT has the experience and expertise to handle whatever your project requires. No job is too big or too small. When it comes to construction materials, trust the experts at BLT Companies.